RSA is a small place, I think, for this week, like being we are positioned as the bridges between the Supreme Court and Parliament. And we are indeed a very international organisation. We operate across 20 countries. Most of whom do have a written constitution, as indeed do we as a Royal Charter body. I always dress like this at the SPADA events. I've always done with style. I think I didn't forgot what the dress code was. But I'd actually happened to stop to a dinner of the Tercettina Society celebrating from 1960 the restoration of the monarchy in 1660. And tonight is the 350th anniversary of the monarchy's restoration. So there's the publicans who may be in the room. The relevance, of course, is that, as we know, and I'm sure we'll deal with it, spawned the Bill of Rights in 1688, allowing William of Orange to be crowned over there and getting the supremacy of Parliament over there firmly established as one of the historical forays into Parliament's constitution. So it's very important to think that we're going to be here tonight. It was about a taboo. I do hope you enjoyed the evening. At the end of the evening, I do recommend the torch on the fifth floor, where there's one more terrace overlooking Parliament Square. You don't get that view anywhere else, so that would be possible. I've been asked not to say far after the bomber that pays off. Please, in a cool and orderly fashion, go find that hall there, down the stairs, and just ascend up and breathe in Parliament Square. And a fire marshal will go down to direct you. But do enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Well, Louis, thank you very much indeed for your great hospitality and support in allowing us to use such a wonderful venue. It couldn't be a more appropriate place. So, welcome, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, to an important debate on a highly topical matter, just the kind of high-stakes issue that we at SPADA relish. One day after the summer solstice, put aside the fact that our taxes are all going to skyrocket, and focus instead on something much more important, our Constitution. If it's not treasonous to say so, Louis, I think I'd like to suggest that the real action will be taking place here tonight. I'm delighted to see people from right across our professional spectrum, which is one of the largest sectors of the UK economy and a highly influential group collectively. We've got heads of professional bodies here tonight. We've got lawyers, surveyors, accountants, medics, engineers, academics, and of course journalists. As you have noted, and it's being filmed, this is a public debate which is conducted right out in the open, so there's no Chatham House rule or rules. But please understand that you're free to speak as individuals in your own right, unless you wish to speak on behalf of an organisation. How did we get here to this evening? Well, first of all, none of us will be sitting here tonight without the sheer inspiration and Herculean endeavour that resulted in repairing British politics, a blueprint for constitutional change, which I understand was largely written between 5 and 8 a.m. every day before its author went off to do his day job as one of our leading constitutional lawyers. I first met Richard through a very good mutual friend, Edward Fennell of the Times, with whom we were working at the time on the English project, an initiative to celebrate the spoken as opposed to written language in all its glory. But some 9 months ago, right at the height of the expenses crisis and that quite extraordinary burst of public fury and disillusionment with our political classes, Richard began to unfold his ideas for a book which you see at the back there, Richard Hart has published. And as he did so, I became absolutely enthralled and electrified by the enormity of the ideas contained therein. Stalin, who knew how to use both, regarded ideas as more dangerous than bullets. Those ideas are absolutely relevant to our situation today, and we knew at SPADA we had to get involved in helping to foster what we believe is a healthy and national debate. That debate has started at the heart of our academic establishment, but it must surely now ripple out through other groups in society, assuming new guises and forms, and who knows, perhaps some true momentum. The debate is fundamental it's about how we govern ourselves. In the first part of Richard's book, Setting the Scene, he sketches the road we have travelled thus far to our unwritten constitution and to our much vaunted but sadly creaking parliamentary sovereignty. This, he argues, is but a power-sustaining device which has never been endorsed by the people, although politicians have always claimed the people for their own. And after things like Iraq and the expenses scandal, I, in common with perhaps a number of people in the audience, share the misgiving that it is the current political system itself which, if it's not completely broken, is certainly hugely defective. Tonight, we will debate whether we should move on to the ultimate step of codifying our constitution, setting out explicit rights and duties to which all might be subject, including, in Richard's draft, our head of state and our executive. As simple citizens, I think we can all be grateful to Richard for taking the national debate about a written constitution a long way forward by furnishing a penetrating and accessible historical analysis and a draft constitution that actually works technically, with, lobbed in for good measure, some thought-provoking ideas such as a citizens' branch and equal gender representation in Parliament. As professionals, we can, of course, choose to get involved. Richard, of course, is aware that his carefully drafted and balanced constitution will be sacrificed. This is, after all, in his view, the start of a process, a national dialogue that might end in a constitutional convention. But a first step, or steps, have been taken. The book is now in print. I commend it to you. It takes its place on the shelf alongside Vernon Bogdanor's work, The New British Constitution, which also points up the need for new forms of democratic engagement. Indeed, in a second step, Professor Bogdanor joined fellow academic professors, journalists, and former law lords for a short colloquium on the subject back in March. But whereas that event was a series of short and brilliant lectures, both for and against, tonight's event is far more in the nature of a full question time style debate, with participation from the floor distinctly encouraged. I'd like to hand over in a second to our chairman for the evening, the distinguished legal and political journalist Joshua Rosenberg, who, like others on this panel, has given freely of his time to be with us here tonight. A BBC and national newspaper veteran, he has a particular interest in constitutional reform, dating back to his time as producer of The Week in Westminster on Radio 4. He's also a qualified solicitor with a law degree from Oxford. I'm also hugely grateful to Bill Cash MP, Sir Christopher Foster, and Professor Ian Maclean, and of course to Richard himself. Bill is the Conservative MP for Stone in the West Midlands. Of him, Dodds say, Bill Cash has devoted most of his parliamentary career to fighting European federalism. He led the Conservative resistance to his own government over the Maastricht Treaty Bill, which he voted against 47 times, more often than any other Tory MP. Bill, you'll doubtless correct us if I've got any of those facts wrong. Sir Christopher is chair of the Better Government Initiative, a cross-party vehicle set up in 2006. And Sir Christopher has, amongst other posts, held one as Professor of Economics at the LSE. He's been an advisor to ministers from the 1970s through to the 1990s. He was a non-exec director of Railtrack from 1994 to 2000, and his book, British Government in Crisis, drew attention to many of the issues relating to the way Britain is governed. Professor Ian Maclean is official fellow in politics at Nuffield College and professor of politics at the University of Oxford. His work has been widely published and cited in the Commons. He's worked extensively on the properties of electoral systems and appropriate measures of proportionality. A final word before I hand over. If you care at all about the way in which we're governed, I urge you to stand up and be counted. Assert your democratic rights here and now. We want a lively debate. Put your valuable insights as professionals, whether you're for or against the motion, to work. Now I'm delighted to hand over to our chair, Joshua. Enjoy the debate. Thank you very much for coming.